What's going on, friends? Welcome back to another episode of the Athlete Unfiltered. I'm your host, Thomas Kaufman, and today we're going to be talking about a topic that was really brought on by one of my patients a couple of weeks ago. And the overall topic is, should youth athletes be performing resistance training exercises like squats, deadlifts, kettlebell swings, overhead presses, chest presses, etc.? And the reason we bring this up is because the conversation that I had with Dad was very interesting. And let me tell you about it. Dad, he is 42 years old. He's an avid runner. He's about to complete an ultra marathon for the first time. So he's training for that. And he heard from his friends within his running community that strength training was a good addition to running, so that he could stay healthy, so that his bones could also, stay healthy. And most important, his muscles and tendons could also stay healthy as he goes through, this ultra marathon program that he's performing. And a couple of weeks back, he came by and he stopped in for a visit, and he said, "Hey, I got a question for you about my son." And I said, "Okay, cool. What's he's got going on?" Because I have seen his son in the past as well, some low back issues. So his son also does a little bit of like rehab exercises, but we haven't introduced him to resistance training plan just because he's never done one before. And he asked me, "Well, hey, my son wants to start doing some of the machine work with me, and I just don't know if it is a good idea." And, the conversation kind of went, "Well, why don't you think it's a good idea?" And Dad said, "Well, I got a couple of things in my mind." And he said, "I've heard that, introducing your kids to resistance training at an early age is going to stunt their growth. It's going to slow down their development. It's going to make them injury prone, and, that they can have disc issues, as well as I don't want my kid to get injured under my watch." And these were all valid reasons, right, on why he was a little put off, or at least, resistant to introducing his son to some type of resistance training. And I asked him, "Well, why did you decide that you wanted to do resistance training?" And he said, "Well, I heard that it was good for my bones and my muscles and tendons, and that it was going to help me, it was just going to help my performance, not hinder it if done properly." And I asked him, "Well, why don't you think your son could also utilize the same type of resistance training for the same benefits?" Thank you for listening to the episode. If you are enjoying the content and want to know more and learn more about how to develop your athleticism and help your athletes develop into athletic individuals, go ahead, hit subscribe, give it a like to this video, and let us know what else you would like to hear about and learn about in future topics. Back to the video. And you could just see it in his face. He kind of stopped and he said, "You're right. I never thought of it." Right? So a lot of times and I've heard it in the past, from friends that have kids, from my parents, from family members, etc. When I started training at 14 years old, my mom was totally against me lifting weights. I was going to get injured. I was going to shrink. I was going to stunt my development. All of those same reasons 20 years ago were still a thing, right? And even now, they're still a thing. But we've already debunked the idea that resistance training is going to stunt the athlete's growth and development. That is a thing of the past. Now we know that when performed properly, athletes and individuals who participate in resistance training develop good muscle, good lean muscle mass. They develop strong bones. They develop healthy joints. And they also develop healthy tendons. So resistance training on one end is beneficial for the performance of athletes that are participating in other sports like football, cheerleading, wrestling, dance, whatever it may be. Now, it always comes down to what type of program they're following, of course. So the conversation then pivoted, and I said, would you feel comfortable coaching your son or teaching your son how to use the same machines that you are utilizing at the gym through your program? His answer was a little shaky. He is like, well, like I am learning from you. I don't know if I'm comfortable teaching it to my son. And I said, okay, let's do this. Coach me through a squat, right? And he coached me through a bodyweight squat. Really good, pretty good. And I said, explain to me how you get in the chest press machine at the gym. And he coached it. He said it to me fairly easy. And I said, one of the big things that I have heard time and time again is that in order for you to really know whether you as a person are understanding the knowledge that has been delivered to you or the instruction that has been given to you is to teach it to somebody else. If you're able to teach it to somebody else in as few sentences as possible and pretty simple, then you understand the objective and you understand how to do the thing that you're doing. And after he coached me through a couple of movements, he felt a little bit more comfortable. And I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'll write your program for your son for 2 weeks, and you are going to just coach it. And it's basically going to be the same movements that you're doing. He's going to be doing just obviously lower weight, a little bit more repetitions. And your big focus is going to be to make sure that the machines are set up properly so that your son is able to perform the movement. If he's not able to perform the movement in the machine, then we move on to something else. Well, so far, both of them are progressing splendidly through their program. And the best part of this is now Dad and his son are spending more quality time. Now they're actually spending about 3 to 4 hours every week together doing some type of resistance training. Now, son still not big into running, but he does run the 400 and 800 meter relays at his school. So Dad is very hopeful that at some point his son is going to take on running a little bit more. But anyway, now the reason why I'm sharing this story with you guys is because parents all over the world right now still believe that lifting weights or introducing kids to resistance training at a younger age is going to be detrimental for their development, for their growth, and may be risky. Now, a lot of parents, and if I'm talking about you as a parent, don't take it personally, but a lot of times, parents have kids in 3 to 4 different sports at a time that require a high degree of skill, right? Soccer, cheerleading, taekwondo, swimming, right? Volleyball, track, wrestling, all of those, they all require some type of honed skill. But the foundation should be resistance training for all, right? If your athlete is a stronger athlete, that just means that their capacity to do more in their sport increases, right? Now, obviously, you're not just going to tell your son and daughter to just go start lifting heavy weights at the gym. No. Resistance training at a younger age can be done in many different ways. Can be done with just simple bodyweight exercises. Can be done with a kettlebell. Can be done with machines like we're doing with my patients. Can be done simply by introducing some type of resistance, a band, a kettlebell, a dumbbell, whatever it may be. But it should also be fun for the athlete. It shouldn't have to be a hard training session, right? It should be fun. Now, my patient's son, he's only 35 minutes lifting. And, after that, he goes on and plays basketball, and he goes on at the YMCA and he goes for a swim, and he's running around like he wants to. He's playing with other kids. That should be part of their development. Now, should every athlete be lifting weights or doing some type of resistance training? It always depends on the athlete and the development that they currently have and want to have. So, is resistance training detrimental to the performance of an athlete? Is it going to stunt their growth? Is it going to increase the risk of an injury? Not when done right, okay? And that's the important part. When athletes undergo resistance training or partake in resistance training, as long as they're doing it with proper instruction from a proper coach, and they are monitored and they're coached properly, you're really limiting the injury risk, and you're also limiting any detrimental effects in performance. This is where knowing is half the battle, right? Now, should parents just all of a sudden start taking their kids and just coaching them? Probably not, right? If you are a parent and you have no idea how to perform a movement and you're just going based off of what you've seen on a book and based on what you've seen others do at the gym that you work out at and based on what you've seen on Instagram, for the benefit of your child, you should probably hire a coach that is going to help your athlete, one, develop the skills needed to get into specific positions, maintain balance and control over a specific movement, and then progress through those motions. So, should your kid be participating in some type of resistance training? In my humble opinion, I think so, right? Not because it's not going to stunt their growth, or it's not risky, or it's not beneficial for them, but because it will provide them with a foundation of strength that they can continue to develop as they get older. And when done properly, it is not going to be a hindrance, but it is going to be a optimization. It's going to optimize their performance later on down the road when it's going to be necessary. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you guys on our next episode. If you're a parent and have any questions about how resistance training can help your kid overcome injuries, reduce injuries, and help them develop into a better athlete, send me a message. I'll be glad to have a conversation with you and point you in the right direction of how that can be done.